Hi everybody, my name's Jake Galwind, and today we're going to do a walk around of an R918 Liebherr excavator, an excavator in the 20 metric ton class. This machine weighs just under 21 metric tons. We have a few of them on sale until the end of the year. So if you can join me and we'll do a walk around of the machine starting with the quick coupler. This is a Liebherr quick coupler. A Liebherr quick coupler is designed and has very little room between the pins, and the pins on the bucket are down really low, so you lose very little breakout forces when you go to a quick coupler. It's also wide, so it stays nice and strong and the bucket doesn't get as loose. It has a rated lift hooks on it, rated for 12 metric tons. If we look at the hydraulics on the machine, there's 7 lines ran to the front of this machine. This is typically what we put on this size class. So the biggest line is return to tank that goes through a filter. The line beside it is another high pressure line, so that would get you could run a breaker. On the other side is another high pressure line, so you could run a shear or a clamp. We also have a medium pressure. These lines are they're both on the same circuit, but there's 4 lines, so if you have two functions, you can run both functions without unhooking. If you notice, there's some small grease lines. This machine is standard with auto grease. If we look up the cylinder, we can see the square valve on the side. That square valve is a load hold valve. If a line blows, the stick will not drop. So if you're working over top of somebody in a trench, if something happens, the machine is not going to drop the tool on a laborer. We also have that on the stick, the bucket, and the boom on this machine. If you look up the side of our booms are built with one piece of steel on the side. A lot of competitors use multi pieces of steel and they're welded together. We've opted for one piece of steel because when a boom breaks, it always breaks by the weld. So we try to put as few welds on the boom as possible so it will last longer and have less stress. If you look at the top of the boom is where we run our hydraulic lines and all the working group lines. We mount them to the very top so there's no welding on the sides for that same reason. The lines on top are also galvanized. Galvanized does not rust as easy, and it also dissipates heat better, so if you're working a machine really hard with auxiliary hydraulics, it's not going to heat up as fast. We do a lot of little things to help keep the machine cooler and last longer. One of the things is all the machines have grease fittings through the lines, and they're like a worm, so it greases the pins all the way through the pin evenly, so they last a little longer. On the side of this machine, you'll see the undercarriage. If we look underneath the undercarriage, you'll see 3 holes. The hole in the center is a big hole. It's just underneath the tracks. The mud falls through this machine very easily, so the operator doesn't have to shovel as much. It's on a large angle, so the mud runs off easier. And there's holes underneath the idlers, the chain carriers, so the mud falls through and onto the ground again. When we go to wider tracks, we also put wider steps on it so the operator can get on and off safer. He's not going to scrape his legs or his shins. We also have a side camera. It's standard on all excavators we sell in Canada. This is where this machine gets different. We put our engines on the side so it's easier to service. We can service pumps, we can service starters, we can service alternators, change all the filters, the fan, the rads. The fan just lifts up so you can service the rads, and you can blow them out from the other side as well without lifting the fan. This machine has reverse fan on it. The reverse fan helps the rad stay cleaner. We can adjust it from the cab. It was put in from the factory. We put a reverse fan on almost every machine we sell in Canada in the earth moving lineup. We also put engine block heater and a hydraulic tank heater, not just an engine heater. If you look at the back, you can see the rear view camera that's standard, and the exhaust is out the back. The exhaust is as far from the operator as possible, so it's quieter. If we look underneath the machine, you can see it's heavily guarded. It's an X pattern undercarriage. The X pattern helps it be more stable. A lot of competitors use X pattern. It's not new in the industry. what we do differently is we put our undercarriages are a little heavier, so our center of gravity is a little lower, so the machine will feel a little more stable for equal ton machines. If we walk around to this side, we'll just open up the side for the operator access. Up here we have all the fluids. The closest tank you see is the big gray. It is diesel. Beside it is diesel exhaust fluid, and on the other side of that is your hydraulic tank. The hydraulic tank, the rad level is all visible to the operator from the cab, so he can see what the levels are without getting up here and looking at it. If you look on the side here is the auto grease that's standard from the factory. It can be adjusted from the cab, and I'll show you that in a minute. And on top of that is the turbo air cleaner. We put turbo air cleaners on. It helps clean the air a little bit before it goes in the air filter. Helps your air filters last longer. And we'll jump up in the cab and show you the cab. We'll go over the cab a little bit on the outside first. Our cab is longer than most machines, so there's a little more room. There's a room behind the cab for a cooler. The front window is curved, and they're all laminated glass, so it's safer. If something hits it, it's not, the odds of something going through and hitting the operator are less. There's a rain guard on top of that glass, so when it starts to rain, the water doesn't run from the top, water and dirt doesn't run over the windshield, so you don't have to run the wipers quite as much. We sell every excavator, most of the excavators in Canada, with the guards in the front lights as well. We'll just take it and we'll go up in the cab. This is the seat of the Liebherr, and if you look behind, how much extra room we have behind the seat, and you can see how you can check all your fluids from the operator seat just by turning your head. Here is our instrument panel with the buttons, the selections. The touch screen is about a 7.5 inch touch screen. We can go through the fuel. So this is the standard screen when you're operating. It tells you your depth level, hydraulic temperature, fuel level, all the different levels, side camera, reverse camera, so it's always on the screen, so you can just take a quick look and see if there is something behind you. If you want to see, if you put it in reverse when you're driving it, it brings up this screen automatically. Shows you the reverse and the backup camera. We will go through some of the settings on it. So here's your air conditioning is an automatic air conditioning. You just set your temperature and it stays that temperature. You can do it manually if you want. This is just all the pressures. You as an operator, you can look and see what the pressures are, how hard you're working the machine when you're doing it. These are your settings. So here's your auto grease function we were talking about. Here's how you adjust it. So it's only going to do a pump every 60 minutes, every 45, pick that one, or if you're running something like a breaker, you want it to grease more, do it every 30. This is your service intervals, so you know how many hours you've done on your services. Auto idle, if you want it to auto idle after you've let off the levers, you can set it, so if you want it to be 2 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever you want, it will do it. This is, you can set the power going to the boom. It's just the user setting, it's just set up for one user right now. Here's the reverse fan, it's set right now. It will do an automatic reverse cycle every 42 minutes, but that's totally up to you, the operator. There's also a button on the side here that you can press to manually do it. Information about this machine's got 247 hours on it, and there's the average, what it's burnt, 8.9 liters per hour. On a just under 21 metric ton machine that's been ripping asphalt and working fairly hard. I'd like to challenge you to look at your 20-ton excavator to see what it gets per hour. Liebherr generally saves a lot of money on fuel. This is tool control. Tool control, we can set up to 20 tools. So if you have a breaker, you can set the pressure and the flow exactly to what that breaker is supposed to be, so it works maximum. You can do it for a clamp, so you can say if you want to set 3 settings for one clamp, so you can have it be slow, fast, so either soft or aggressive. Another thing in this is the messages. When a Liebherr, as all machines do, break down, it will show you the code, it will show you what the code means and what to look for. Most machines you have to plug in with a laptop to get all that information. As an operator, we give that to you. Here is our levers. Our levers all are heat sensitive, so when I put my hand on the side like this, it will rev up. The reason we do that is when it revs up, it revs up just before you open up the valve, so the pump doesn't work as hard. It saves fuel on a cycle, or an engine burns more fuel when it's trying to rev up while it's working. If it's revving up when it's not working, it uses a lot less fuel, so it's ready when you move that lever. It's already revved up, ready to work. It's a little more efficient. We run mini joysticks on the top. As you can see, they move. You can run 2 sets of hydraulics on there, and the same as on this one on this side. And we can set that so if you want your clamp on the left, we can put the clamp on the left. If you want your clamp on the right, we can put it on the right. If you want to run your breaker and your shear, or a shear with a rotate, we can put it on either side for whatever the operator wants. The other thing, this window, that's your view, and a large window out the top, so if you're doing stuff overhead, you can see very well. The bottom piece of this window comes up with the top window, so if you're working in a sewer crew and you want to talk to the guys and want it to be open, you can pull it open and be able to communicate. This machine also does not have a DPF filter, so you don't have to worry about regen as well. There you have it. If you have any questions, please contact us at Liebherr Canada. We'd be happy to look after you. Try something different. These machines are great.